Chapter 1491. Noticing that the meal was ready, Olivia went to wake Jade. Jade had quite a restless sleep on the chair. She even mumbled, "The void holds no troubles." Olivia gently woke Jade up. "Madame Delaney, the meal is ready." Jade slowly opened her eyes. When she saw the beautiful face in front of her, she subconsciously called out, "Sister." Olivia froze. "What did you just call me?" It was only then that Jade came to her senses. "Did I say anything? Madame Delaney, you just called me, sister. Did you remember something?" Jade put a hand on her head. She indeed had a dream, and she felt like she was dreaming about a woman. But after she woke up, the dream disappeared, and she couldn't remember anything anymore. Olivia could see how troubled Jade was, and the latter didn't seem to be faking it. By the looks of it, she had roused some of the memories in Jade's subconscious mind. "Madame Delaney, let's eat." Olivia didn't dare to shock Jade too much. After all, Olivia wasn't quite skilled in neurology. Jade was elated during the meal. "I knew that you'd be coming over this year, too. You've been doing that for years, after all. Still, I didn't expect you to bring a friend this year." Alan filled their glasses with wine. "Madame Delaney, Mr. Maxwell will never forget about you no matter what." "Dr. Ophelia, let's toast to Madame Delaney and Mr. Maxwell. Let's wish him a happy birthday." Olivia was stunned. "It's his birthday today." Smiling, Jade said, "My head was injured, so I couldn't even remember who I was." Wayne was even more pitiful. He was sold off repeatedly, and he doesn't even know who his family members are. Of course, he doesn't know when his birthday is, either. Both suffered a lot. When I took him in, he was just a scrawny kid. So, we commemorated the day of our encounter as our birthday. We spend our birthday together every year. Jade sounded calm about it, but Olivia was a little more affected than before. Wayne's past was even more pitiful than the short few sentences written in his documents. "I see." Olivia raised her glass. "Madame Delaney, here's a toast to you. May you always be in good health and peace." Olivia raised her glass again, but this time, she was facing Wayne. "Wayne, happy birthday." Wayne snorted. "That's it. You just don't care, do you?" Even so, he gripped his glass tightly. There was slight joy in his gaze. Olivia continued, "I wish you peace and success, and I hope you'll find your significant other soon." "Oh, come on. You should have just kept your mouth shut, then." Wayne downed the wine. After the meal, Olivia asked Jade, "Madame Delaney, seeing how powerful Mr. Maxwell is now, he could have let you live in a better place. Why did you insist on staying here? It's not safe here, and many things are lacking here. My dear, humans can adapt to new situations, but trees can't. Wayne is young, so he should go out there and explore so that he can have a better future. But I'm different. I'm getting old, and I'm just like those old trees. If I go with him, I'll only be a burden. Moreover, I've lived here for so many years, I've already treated this place as my home. No matter how imperfect this place is, no one would complain about their home. I don't have many years left ahead of me, so I'd rather live life to the fullest. Also, with his identity, if people learned that he has a godmother like me, what would they think of him?" Olivia understood, so she didn't ask more about it. She just took Jade's hand and said softly, "This is a good place. Even vibrant flowers can bloom out of barren soil." Chapter 1492. Wayne could hold his liquor well. But today, he seemed to have gotten drunk. Olivia helped him onto the bed. He gripped her hand tightly, refusing to let go. "Let go. I'm warning you, don't do anything funny." Olivia warned him sternly. Wayne's cheeks were flushed, but he kept mumbling, "Dr. Ophelia, I really do like you. Can you give me a chance?" "Sorry." Olivia pried his fingers off of her. Then, she left the room expressionlessly. Compared to Wayne, Olivia was more concerned about Jade. Jade had drunk a few glasses of wine. She was a good drinker, but still, she was quite old, so Olivia was a little worried about her. Jade was lying on the bed, murmuring, "Sis, don't leave me. Sis." When Olivia came in, Jade gripped Olivia's hands. "Oh, Nat, it's me, Jade." Jade, who am I? Your sis. You know, Nat. What is my name? Olivia continued asking. Before Jade finished speaking, she fell asleep. Olivia felt a little exasperated. Sometimes, it could be quite troublesome to have too much to drink. While the two were asleep, Olivia wanted to get a phone to contact Ethan with. Jade didn't have a phone, and Olivia couldn't unlock Wayne's phone. People were keeping watch outside as well. Olivia sighed. She had no choice but to sleep on the couch. It was New Year's Day, but instead of spending time with her children, she had to put up here. The next morning, Wayne groggily woke up. When he saw Olivia sleeping on the couch, he felt even more attracted to her. Walking in, Alan whispered something in his ear. When Olivia heard the voices, she opened her eyes and looked at Wayne. Did I wake you? Wayne lowered his voice on purpose. I heard you guys saying that you found something out. Yes. Undecim released information that the person who's trying to kill you is in Zeelot Tria. Who is it? Olivia continued to ask. Wayne shook his head. We haven't figured that out. Undecim was only sure of that part. Do you have any enemies in Zeelot Tria? Olivia felt exasperated. What if I told you I've never been to Zeelot Tria? If that were the case, then her real family might be in Zeelot Tria. The range had narrowed down, so her trip here wasn't meaningless after all. Wayne was on a tight schedule, but he still took a day off to show Olivia around. He showed her his war records in the past, and they also went to the busiest area. The poor people here were slaves to the rich. Everywhere on the streets, they could see people with collars around their necks as they prostrated on all fours. In the Colosseum, slaves belonging to different masters were fighting each other, and the audience was riled up. Things were even bloodier and more violent in the gambling house. It was very upsetting to watch. I have to use the bathroom, Olivia said. Go ahead. Wayne gave Alan a look. Someone followed Olivia right away. Unbeknownst to him, Olivia had already contacted someone among the crowd. In the bathroom, Yale's figure suddenly appeared. I'm a little surprised that you, of all people, are here. Molly owed you one, after all. Don't let down your guard. This is his territory, and we won't be able to escape so easily. Olivia was already happy enough to see someone familiar in a foreign country. She didn't expect Ethan's men to arrive so soon. Are my children all right? They're good children, and they're very understanding too. They're all waiting for you to come home. Let's skip the nonsense. We're going up. Yale pointed at the vent on the ceiling. Chapter 1493. Olivia didn't complain. She stepped on Yale for momentum to climb up. The pipeline inside was wide enough to fit an adult man. But no one cleaned it, so it was filled with dust. Olivia couldn't care about those things. She only had one thought in her mind. She had to escape. Her children were still waiting for her. Fortunately, the area was very chaotic, and there were quite a lot of gangs here. When Yale was working for the Kingstons in the past, he was involved in shady business like this. He teamed up with a prominent local leader, and that was how he managed to pave a path for Olivia. In an extremely short time, he managed to send Olivia out to sea. By the time Wayne noticed that something was off and came running, Olivia was nowhere to be found. He was furious. They had taken Olivia away from right under his nose. Ethan was truly a force to be reckoned with. Wayne didn't give Olivia a chance to contact the outside world, so how did Ethan's men manage to locate her? Wayne mocked Ethan because he was looking for a needle in a haystack, but he didn't expect Ethan to make use of his schemes and trick him. Give chase. Don't let her escape. Wayne knew that if he missed this chance, he wouldn't have another one ever again. He mobilized all forces to look for Olivia. Yale knew that Ethan was working with people on the inside and also with those outside. So, vessels would be waiting at the boundary of the high seas. Wayne went after Olivia in a speedboat. Olivia was anxious. She had recalled her trauma back when Ethan chased and captured her. A distance away, Ethan was standing on a warship, awaiting Olivia's arrival. Seagulls circled the air above, and the speedboat created waves as it sped along. Everyone's heart was almost leaping out of their chest. Ethan had let down the rope ladder, and the hair over his forehead danced in the wind. He extended his hand toward the person in the speedboat. Liv, come to me. After being apart from Ethan for 2 weeks, Olivia missed him dearly. She grabbed the rope ladder and started to climb up the warship. Wayne's voice came riding on the sea breeze. Olivia, don't leave. He was like a furious beast roaring with all its might. His veins on his neck throbbed. Olivia, don't leave, please. He had to go faster. Just a little bit more, and he would be able to catch up to Olivia. But that woman didn't turn back to him at all. Instead, she climbed even faster. When she placed her hand on Ethan's palm, Wayne knew that he had lost. Olivia threw herself into Ethan's arms. Ethan tightly held the precious treasure he had lost and then found. His gaze was filled with love toward Olivia. I'm sorry, Olivia, I came late. No, you were really fast. She had only shown herself 2 days ago, but he had already gotten his men to rescue her. It was so fast that even Wayne didn't have time to react. Olivia. Wayne stared at her. No matter how fast he gave chase, he was still too late. A bullet was fired on the surface of the sea in front of him. Ethan held Olivia with one hand as he fired shots with his other hand. His expression was extremely cold. Wayne, if you come any closer, you'll be in Arlandian waters. If you want to die, I won't stop you. In reality, if there weren't so many people here, Ethan wished he could have killed Wayne in one shot. That bastard had used such underhanded tricks to deceive Ethan so that he could get his hands on Olivia. Wayne's gaze was filled with disappointment. He thought that he was getting along well with Olivia these days, for she didn't seem resistant to him. But in the end, she still decisively threw herself in the arms of another man. Olivia, don't you even like me a little bit? Standing on the tall warship, Olivia looked down at the pained man. Never. Chapter 1494. Wayne pushed himself against the warship, his face filled with a pained expression. The look on Olivia's face was extremely cold, and she didn't fake anything at all. Ethan fired more shots. The bullets rained down near Wayne's speedboat, causing waves to splash in Wayne's face. Wayne, I'll make you pay dearly for kidnapping my wife. With that, Ethan ordered his men to steer homeward. Looking at the hurt man, Ike sighed silently. She's already gone, Mr. Maxwell. Just give up. She doesn't love you. The heart was the most important factor. Age and status didn't matter at all. If she didn't like him, then she didn't. No matter who he was, he couldn't do anything about it. Why, Wayne mumbled. After so many years, he finally met a woman like her, but the heavens refused to grant his wish. Olivia leaned in Ethan's embrace. I thought that I would never see you again. Back then, she seriously thought that Wayne would keep her trapped on the island forever. I'm sorry, Liv. Ethan had realized it too late, too. He hugged Olivia tightly. He was extremely worried when he heard the news that Olivia had died. A few days ago, when he couldn't find any leads, he spent every second in anxiety. Fortunately, this was all in the past. Olivia's arrival was like the parting of dark clouds. Even the winds and snow in Aldenvine had stopped. Her children bounded toward her. Mom, gathering the children in her arms, Olivia teared up. I'm sorry. You must have been so worried. The adorable children seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Children had keen senses, after all. There were even tears welling up in Connor's eyes. Mom, I'm glad you're fine. Olivia comforted each child in turn. Then, Linus and the others approached her. Olivia, please be more careful in the future. You gave us quite a fright. Mason reached out and caressed her head. I'm getting old. I can't take too many frights, you know. Olivia pulled Yale over. Grandpa, this is all thanks to Yale. If not, I wouldn't be able to escape so easily. Yale didn't say a word. Mason nodded. Yes, we should thank him properly. Yale, thank you for the hard work. Go and have some rest. Yes, sir. Yale exchanged glances with Ethan. As expected, Ethan was right. If Yale saved Olivia, Mason would more or less be grateful to him. Molly ran over to Yale from a distance. Yale, are you okay? How is Olivia? I'm fine. Everything went as planned. It's cold outside, and you have a weak body. Go back to your room and rest first. It was only then that Molly sighed in relief. I'm glad she's back in one piece. Reaching up, Yale scratched the tip of her nose. I promised you that I'd bring her home safely, didn't I? That night, the Heath family was finally in a festive mood. They had maids cook Olivia's favorite dishes to welcome her home. Even though they had missed the New Year's festivities, with her family around her, Olivia felt extremely blissful. In the big wide world, as long as their family was together, they had reason to celebrate every day. The island was beautiful, but in the end, it wasn't her home. Her family wasn't there, either. After Olivia had a refreshing shower, she saw Ethan hugging the children as he told them stories. He said in his deep and attractive voice, "After that, the princess and the prince got married. They had several adorable children, and they lived happily ever after." Chapter 1495. Olivia and the children returned to the initial island. After so many years of development, the island was quite different now. There was a colorful road by the sea that ran around the whole island. The cherry tree in front of Martha's house back then was still there. Now, the cherry blossoms were blooming splendidly. Olivia stood under the huge cherry tree, listening as the wind chimes hanging on the tree rang melodiously in the sea breeze. When the lights on the cherry tree were turned on, Olivia looked majestic as she stood among the petals of the cherry blossoms drifting downward. Even women who had never given birth before might look dull in comparison, let alone women who had 4 children. Willow sat in the cherry tree, the bells on her feet chiming. Under the tree, the twins were messing around. Connor touched the cherry tree, feeling amazed. He didn't remember much of his childhood, but he had a deep impression of this cherry tree. Back then, he was still following Olivia everywhere in his diapers. Martha had passed away 2 years ago, but Olivia's room was still preserved as is. Most of the islanders didn't leave the place. They were glad to see Olivia, and they said that she had made their lives much easier. Now, there was clean water and electricity on the island, and the islanders could even access the internet. They could learn about the world without stepping outside of their homes. They weren't as isolated as they used to be. Bringing the children with them, Olivia and Ethan stayed on the island for a week until a number flashed on Olivia's phone screen. Olivia stopped playing with the children. With a stern look on her face, she stepped aside to answer the call. "Mr. Avery." Avery's cough sounded over the phone. Olivia was a little worried about his health. "Are you okay?" "I'm all right. I'm sorry for disturbing you during your holiday." "Olivia, do you remember the younger brother I mentioned who had his legs broken?" "Mr. Sean." "Yes. Because of his legs, he had been in a bad mood for the past few years. He was diagnosed with depression, and he even had thoughts of ending his own life recently. Fortunately, the other family members noticed it. He'll need to solve the problem at its roots, so Olivia, can you please take a look at Sean's legs? If you can cure his legs, he should be released from his mental illness, too." She had already promised Avery to do it, but the person who wanted to kill her was in Zeelot Tria. If she went over now, she would be walking right into mortal danger. Many years ago, Avery had done her a favor so Olivia couldn't decline. "All right, but I have a request. I want to use my fake identity." Avery knew about Olivia being targeted as well. "I understand. Don't worry, I'll make the arrangements." After a discussion with Avery, Olivia decided to head to Zeelot Tria the next day. After all, a human life was at stake. When Ethan heard that she was leaving, he frowned deeply. "Liv, I don't mean to stop you from working, but the incident with Wayne ended just a few days ago. Now that you're leaving again, I'm really worried." Olivia wrapped her arms around his waist, burying her head in his chest as she said, "I know that you're worried, but I owe Mr. Avery a lot. He had asked me for help because he had no other choice. Ethan, I promise you that this will be the last time. After this, I won't just up and leave anymore. Mr. Avery will arrange everything for me. He'll take responsibility for my safety. Liv, can I say no?" Ethan's gaze was filled with worry. He had also found some leads pointing to Zeelot Tria. The person who wanted to kill Olivia was there. How could he not be worried? "No." Ethan let out a deep sigh. "Liv, what do I do with you?" Chapter 1496. Olivia rubbed against Ethan's collar like a cat. I don't have anything to do with Avery's family. There are no grudges between us. Moreover, Avery had helped me out before, so the Fordham family is the safest place there. Also, I won't be going there with my original identity. No one will know that it's me. You always have your reasons. Ethan was helpless against her. But this time, promise me that you'll take Willow with you. Willow has an intuition with medicine, and she can tell the animals to protect you. Sure, even though Olivia didn't sense anything dangerous about Avery's family, it wasn't a bad idea for Willow to go with her. Of all the children, Willow was the one who had the most interest in medicine. If Willow learned more from Olivia, she would become a wonderful doctor in the future. When the other children heard that Olivia would be leaving with Willow this time, they were both envious and sad. The twins held each of Olivia's hands, saying, "Mom, can we go with you too? We won't give you trouble." Olivia touched their small faces. She didn't want to leave them, either. "I'm going there to treat someone, and I'll be back very soon." "Be good, alright, but school is starting soon. We rarely get a chance to be with you, Mom. You were just kidnapped by someone, too. We're worried that, if it were possible, Olivia didn't want to leave so soon, either. But a person's life was at stake here. Depression was quite serious if it had been going on for years. The patient would keep thinking of ending their life. If Olivia had come even a day later, Sean would have been in mortal danger. She had no choice. She tried her best to comfort the children. "I'll be fine. Be good, alright. After I've treated that person, I'll come back and spend some quality time with you." Even though the twins were reluctant, they obeyed in the end. "Take care, Mom." "I will." Olivia hummed a lullaby as she gently coaxed the children to sleep. The lights were still on in the room outside. Olivia spotted Connor, who was still up. He was sitting at the window, dazed. She wondered what he was thinking about. "It's getting late. Why haven't you gone to bed?" Olivia gently held Connor's shoulder. He was the oldest of her children but also the most reserved. He wasn't like his younger siblings, who would always express themselves honestly. Connor was hesitant to speak. His eyes, which looked very much like Ethan's, were filled with longing. "You don't want me to go to Zeelot Tria. It's not that. I'm just mad that I'm too young, so I can't ensure your safety. If I were better at this, I could have gotten rid of all the dangers for you. Then, you can go wherever you want." After Olivia listened to his words, she sighed lightly. "I'm happy enough that you have that intention, child. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Even if the sky is falling, your dad will do something about it. I can protect myself, too, so don't worry about me." "But you're still blaming Dad. Even now, you refuse to get married to Dad again. That's why you're getting targeted." Connor swayed her hand lightly. "Mom, Dad really loves you. I know that he did lots of bad things in the past, but what's important is that he changed his ways. Mom, can you give Dad another chance?" Olivia caressed Connor's face gently. "Oh, are you advocating for your dad? I just don't want you to fall for someone else. I don't want to get married to someone else and have someone else's children. If that happens, then, I won't have a mother anymore." Olivia didn't expect Connor to think like that. He was the oldest, and he also had the most thoughts. In all the days she hadn't seen him, was he constantly in fear of losing her. "Silly child, I'll never leave you," Olivia said softly. "I'll consider getting married to your dad again." Chapter 1497. Early the next morning, the children got up to see Olivia off. "Don't worry, Mom, I'll take good care of Zach and Alicia." "Good boy." Ethan walked up to Olivia. "Don't lose the necklace. No matter where you are, I'll be able to find you." Olivia didn't fault him for planting a tracker on her. If it weren't for the necklace he had given her beforehand, she wouldn't be able to escape. "Yeah, I know. Take good care of the children. I'll be back soon. I've already made preparations in Zeelot Tria. If any accidents happen, you can contact our men anytime." "All right." Standing on tiptoe, Olivia planted a kiss on Ethan's cheek. She said in a low voice, "I've already promised Connor that I'll consider getting married to you again." Ethan's eyes lit up in joy. He patted Willow on the head. "Darling, Keep close to your mom, all right. Willow nodded obediently. She was elated to be able to keep Olivia company. The two disguised themselves and changed their real appearances. To outsiders, they had common looks, and only Willow's green eyes stood out. Still, only the Heaths and Ethan knew about Willow's identity. No one knew that Olivia had a child, like Willow. After more than 10 long hours on the plane, Olivia and Willow safely landed. Avery's people were in charge of everything from the private jet to picking Olivia up at the airport. It was night when Olivia arrived at the capital of Zeelot Tria. Zeelot Tria was at a low latitude, so the temperature was just nice. Spring was everywhere around them. Zeelot Tria and Arlandia came from the same roots. They also celebrated the New Year extensively, so the streets were adorned with colorful lights. As Willow gazed at the lights on the streets, her green eyes sparkled and shimmered. Olivia gently held Willow in her arms. Then, she reached up and caressed Willow's face. When things settle down, let's set off fireworks together. Willow nodded. Reaching out, she hugged Olivia's neck and kissed Olivia's cheek. Olivia had heard about the Fordhams in Zeelot Tria. They were one of the most prestigious century-old families in the country. In the past century, many great figures came from the Fordhams. There were officials in politics and also famous people in business, arts, entertainment, medicine, and various other fields. The Fordhams were thriving, but a huge change occurred in the current generation. Avery's kidney problem had plagued him for years. Sean got into an accident, and Quinn died in a foreign land. Even though the status of the Fordhams was still immovable, the Fordhams seemed to be shrouded in a dark cloud that refused to dissipate. Olivia changed her name to Susie Fordham, and she was introduced as a Dr. Avery had especially asked for help from. Hence, she was greatly respected. On the way there, Olivia asked about Sean. The driver sighed. Mr. Sean is a pitiful man indeed. He's a gentleman, and he prioritized fairness. He treated his household staff very well. He was an excellent first officer, and he would become captain soon. Unexpectedly, he was betrayed by his girlfriend, and he got into an accident which injured his legs. He wouldn't be able to stand ever again. He has been very depressed in the last few years. His mental state is in deep trouble. Olivia asked, did he consult a psychologist? Of course, he did. He talked to many doctors, both local and foreign. Still, the problem has to be solved at its roots. He can't stand on his feet, and nothing the doctors said could help. However, since Mr. Avery had especially invited you here, you may be able to cure Mr. Sean. I'll do my best. While they were speaking, the car drove into a villa with a view of the ocean. A large field of green grass came into view, rustling in the sea breeze. At night, when the moon shone, the whole scene looked lonely and depressing. This is Mr. Sean's private home. Chapter 1498. Olivia could imagine how beautiful and lonely this field would look when the wind rustled through the grass in the daytime. It was no wonder that Sean would get depressed. If Olivia lived in an environment like that for long periods, even she would have weeds growing all over her heart. The car pulled to a stop. The villa was quite minimalistic. The walls were painted either gray or white. The villa looked stagnant, and there wasn't any liveliness to it at all. It was 11 p.m. by then, but the sound of an ocarina could be heard coming from the villa. The piece being played was the familiar, Celestial Castle. It started to drizzle outside. The rain pelted against the glass window, looking both beautiful and lonely. Olivia was going crazy. Even she couldn't stay more than a few minutes in this place, let alone a depressed person. She felt like a companionless whale in the sea, as if she was the only person left in the whole world. She was devastated and desolate. How could a depressed person not get even more depressed under such circumstances? Mr. Sean is the one playing the ocarina. He has insomnia, and he has trouble falling asleep, especially at night. Olivia frowned. She felt that something was off. If Sean was depressed, why would they allow him to be in a place like this? Under such circumstances, he wouldn't recover at all. Instead, he would only get even more depressed. Can I see Mr. Sean? I can't say for sure. Mr. Sean isn't mentally stable, and in the past few years, he hasn't even wanted to see his own family, let alone an outsider. When they mentioned you to him, Mr. Sean seemed resistant to the idea. Even so, the driver was kind enough to knock on the door, signaling that a new doctor wanted to have a look at Sean. The reply came in the form of the sound of something crashing against the floor. By the looks of it, Sean didn't want to see her, and he also harbored great enmity toward her. The driver was a little troubled. "I'm sorry, Dr. Fordham. It's getting late, and you must be tired from the journey. Why don't you and your child rest up first? Mr. Sean probably doesn't want to see you, so perhaps you should wait for another day." Before he finished speaking, the sound of a flute rang out in their ears. The driver lowered his head, surprised to see that the green-eyed child was playing the flute. The child was quite young, but she was very skilled. 5 minutes later, the door opened. A man in a wheelchair appeared by the doorframe. He had a pale face, and his contours were slightly similar to Avery's. However, his facial features looked much gentler, and he had a thin frame. There were dark circles under the man's eyes. It was obvious that he hadn't had proper sleep in a long while. He was terrifyingly depressed. He stared at Willow, a hint of surprise appearing in his emotionless eyes. He probably didn't expect such a young child to play the flute in a way that resonated with him so much. The driver was surprised. "Mr. Sean, this is the doctor Mr. Avery has invited over to treat you." Sean didn't pay Olivia much attention. He stared unblinkingly at Willow. Perhaps because he hadn't said a word in a long time, his voice sounded a little hoarse. It was quite an odd sound. "Oh, right, I forgot to make the introductions. She's Dr. Fordham's daughter." Dr. Fordham. Because of their identical last names, Sean looked up at Olivia. Her face was quite common-looking, and no one would spare her a second glance in a crowd. Olivia introduced herself. "Hello, Mr. Sean. My name is Susie Fordham. This is my daughter, Willow." Sean seemed to be more interested in Willow than Olivia. Even though Willow had her facial features altered, Olivia took special care to enhance Willow's features so that she looked like she was of mixed blood. When people looked at her, they would assume that her father was a foreigner. Willow walked slowly up to Sean's wheelchair. Holding up his hand, she traced the spelling of her name on his palm. Chapter 1499. The willow was a tree that stretched to the heavens while staying rooted in place, and its branches also connected the sky with the ground. Willow's name was quite special, and it was quite rare these days. Olivia explained, "Willow is born mute." Perhaps because they were both physically lacking, with Sean's failing legs and Willow unable to speak, Sean easily resonated with her. "She's still so young." Sean's gaze was filled with compassion as he looked at Willow. After all, she was such a young child, but she had never spoken a word. Willow smiled at him. She couldn't speak, but her gaze was radiant and gentle. She didn't look miserable at all. She signed something. Sean couldn't understand, so he looked at Olivia. Olivia explained, "Willow said that even though she can't speak, she feels happy because she has her family who loves her." "Family," Sean murmured as if he was thinking of something. Olivia took a step forward. "You look very tired, Mr. Sean. You probably haven't had proper sleep in a long while. It's getting late, so you should rest." "Sleep? I won't be able to." Sean shook his head. Nights like this are the hardest to endure. Aside from taking injections and pills, he never had a night of decent sleep. If he took injections or pills over long periods, he would slowly rely on them. Sean didn't want to be useless trash that only relied on medicine, so he forcefully stopped taking medicine. Since then, his sleep quality had taken a turn for the worse. He couldn't sleep all night, and his mind was filled with countless thoughts. Just a while ago, he even tried to end his own life. Olivia said gently, "Don't worry, Mr. Sean. I have some tricks to counter insomnia. I heard from Avery that you're here to cure my legs. I've talked to many doctors about my insomnia, but nothing worked. Are you sure you can do it?" Olivia nodded. "You can give it a try, Mr. Sean. The people I've treated before all sang praises of the effectiveness of my methods." The mother-daughter duo was quite unlike the other doctors. Olivia was here to cure Sean's legs, but she never mentioned a word of it. Instead, she asked to treat his insomnia. What sort of doctor would bring their daughter over? Olivia didn't look like a doctor at all. Instead, she looked like a relative who had come to visit. The driver said, "Why don't you let Dr. Fordham have a try, Mr. Sean?" She must have been quite outstanding for Mr. Avery to ask for her help. "All right, let's see what you can do. Many famous doctors have failed, so what can you do? May I know where your room is, Mr. Sean? Can you show me around? It's vital to have a comfortable environment to sleep in." Sean gave Reginald Lind, his caregiver, a look. Reginald came over and took Sean to his room in his wheelchair. Because of his failing legs, Sean lived on the ground floor. As soon as Olivia walked into the room, she saw the large floor-to-ceiling windows. The field was right outside the windows. The ocean, with its raging waves, lay in the distance. It was drizzling outside, and the raindrops pelted on the glass windows. The room was grayish-white as well. It looked as lonely as loneliness could be. Sean was like a wilted flower about to reach the end of its life. Olivia frowned deeper. "Show me what you can do, Dr. Fordham." Olivia retrieved a calming candle and silver needles from her bag. "Just lie down, Mr. Sean, and leave the rest to me. No need for medicine. No, this'll do." The scent of the candle wafted in the air, and it soon filled the whole room. As Olivia instructed, Sean lay on the bed. Then, Olivia placed her fingers on his wrist. Sean was curious about this. "You know herbal medicine." Chapter 1500. Olivia seemed quite young, so she must have been quite amazing to have achieved something in modern medicine. But surprisingly, she could check pulses for deeper signs, too. In a sense, with modern medicine making waves all over the world, the remaining reputable doctors in herbal medicine were on the older side. Sean rarely saw doctors as young as Olivia. Olivia calmly examined his pulse. Sean asked, "How is it? You should sleep first, Mr. Fordham. We'll talk when you have woken up." With that, she took out the needles. "I'll stimulate your acupuncture points with the silver needles. Coupled with the calming candle, you'll be able to sleep nicely." Sean assumed that Olivia didn't figure anything out from the pulse. She was young, after all. Even internationally famous doctors couldn't cure his insomnia. Sean chose not to expose Olivia. Instead, he allowed her to perform acupuncture on him. Oddly enough, Sean was doubtful at first. But half an hour later, he began to feel sleepy. Even before he could realize it, he fell asleep. Olivia gestured to Reginald. They quietly left the room. Reginald was emotional. "Dr. Fordham, at first, I felt that you're quite young, so I was a little worried when you were performing acupuncture. I didn't expect you to be so skilled in medicine. You didn't even tremble when you were inserting the needles, and you quickly put Mr. Sean to sleep. He's very reliant on medicine, so even after he takes his medicine, he'll have to wait a long time before he falls asleep. I didn't think he would go to sleep so quickly after you performed acupuncture on him." As expected, herbal medicine is lit. Olivia chuckled. Reginald was quite trendy. It's not difficult to put Mr. Sean to sleep. However, his illness is quite tricky. Reginald's expression instantly clouded over. "Dr. Fordham, does Mr. Sean have illnesses other than his leg problem?" Olivia didn't say it explicitly. "I'm talking about his mental illness. It'll be quite a challenge to treat." She yawned, a tired look appearing on her face. "It's getting late, and you must be tired from your journey, Dr. Fordham. You and Miss Willow should rest for now." "All right." Olivia brought Willow to their room. Willow signed. "Mom, you knew what's happening, right? Why didn't you tell them?" Olivia glanced around them, carefully checking the room for tapping devices and the like. Then, she lowered her voice and said, "Willow, this is a very complicated matter. Don't tell anyone about it for now. I have my own plans. All right, go to sleep now. I have something to attend to." Olivia helped Willow bathe. After that, she contacted Ethan to assure him that they were fine. Then, she asked Ethan to look into something for her. Ethan's low voice rang out over the phone. "You suspect that Sean's illness isn't a coincidence and that someone is causing it on purpose?" "Yes, and that person may very well be someone close to him. I don't know the details of the accident, so I won't comment on that." But I suspect that someone is intentionally causing his depression. Someone is making him depressed, and I even suspect that he's poisoned. With how wealthy the Fordhams are, it's impossible for these details to go unnoticed during checkups. This means that someone has bribed his doctor to produce a fake checkup report. This is to hide the fact that he was inflicted with slow-acting poison. Ethan frowned a little. If someone close to him wants to harm him, you're in a very dangerous situation now, Liv. You shouldn't get involved in this anymore. I'll be careful, Ethan. For some reason, when I saw Sean's weak face, I desperately wanted to cure him. This is probably a doctor's compassion. Ethan still wasn't assured. Since you refuse to leave, I'll send someone over tomorrow to protect you. All right. I'll be careful.